Alrighty, there we go. So thanks for joining us for this June Ask the Trainer series. And today we're going to cover how to set up a series of events, cloning your events, strategies for cloning. Sometimes you have road shows where quite repeated events are very similar. So those strategies for quickly getting those up and ready. So I want to really zone in on reducing your mouse mileage, reducing your workflow. I do want to have the shortest amount of steps to get everything done. But just to remind you, I will make this video available to you right in the virtual foyer that you came in through. So if you scroll back through the various dates of our previous monthly sessions, you can go in and view the recording of previous sessions. And I've also popped them onto our YouTube Stova channel as well. So please feel free to dig in and have a wee look at those. Now, the first thing I'm going to bring up to you is I am a tick box girl. I like to have my to-do list in a nice little tick box. And one of the things I'm going to work on today is, I have to repeatedly use the same registration site or I have to clone my registration site. So I'm going to create a workflow. And what is the template I'm going to use for this event? What is the website template that I use? And what are the areas that I have to prep and change once I clone that site? For example, I need to go into the basics details tab and I need to fix the registration close date, the registration event description, the contact information, location, city, state, and zip. So I'll have a to-do list of areas that I need to work on as I'm managing my roadshow or my series of events. And this you should have for each of your events because your types of events might be quite different in the launch process. So this sample workflow process, it's available for you in the Stova LMS. Let me just go and log into the Stova LMS. I have it in a container right here down at the bottom, right on your landing page. So hopefully you all have access to the Stova LMS. And if you do not, please email training@stova.io and we'll put you right in here. So this is this sample document, a sample workflow, and it's quite bulky. So you'd have to whittle it down for what you need. So please take advantage of that. I'm now sharing my screen where I have our various events. And there's a couple of ways that you could approach having a series of events. And I'm going to just quickly clone one that I have here that's branded. I may have an upcoming series of events, and I just list them as different sessions. So when somebody registers for this event, there's only one category in this registration site. And then when they go through registration, they're going to pick their location for the roadshow just from the sessions themselves. So this is a very simple approach where the sessions themselves are the individual locations of these actual events. And I'm going to make them tick box sessions because I need a roster of who's attending that particular event. So I'll start on July 1st, put in my date and my time, or something probably most of you are totally familiar with. This is the New York City location of this series. And when you have a tick box session, if you look all the way down at the bottom, remember with your tick box sessions, you could add conditional questions related to that particular location. So I'm going to quickly, if I had specific questions I needed to ask people about each location once they signed up, I could now clone that session, name it for the next location, clone it, etc. So I'm just going to set up sessions as all of the locations in my series of events. Now, one of the affects of doing it this way is that if you're sending out multiple marketing blasts, people are really registering for the session and they're picking and choosing. They're registering for the series of events, but they're picking and choosing in the sessions which one they want to come to. So if you were sending out blasts throughout the year, like how effective was your July blast, how effective was your August blast, etc., you'd have to go into your registrant list and filter that list by the dates of registration. So you're sort of guessing which email blast was spiking those registrations. So it's not a clearly defined process necessarily for looking to see how popular was New York as opposed to Chicago versus how popular was registering for the overall series. So I've sometimes have had those conversations with you about, what are the pros and cons of lumping all the locations in as a series of sessions in one event registration site. So there's that issue with setting that up. So something just to consider. Now, in my summary report, in all of my reports, I can certainly pull a report that says how many people were registered for each session. So you certainly can get adequate and full reporting in there. And just a comment on those pop-up conditional questions that you would add when somebody ticks a session, those show up as attendee info questions. So if you're coming into your registrant list and you're creating this new view that's going to show you the attendee category, the conference number, those extra little questions that I'm adding as a condition of ticking a session would appear in my attendee info questions section rather than underneath the session itself. So just sometimes I've seen you kind of look for that question once you set it. So simple, quick approach, one event as a series. The other thing you could do is use the embedded roadshow feature that we have built in. So I'm going to go into the settings of my event and I'm going to go into categories. And each of the categories I consider to be a mini event all by itself. So I'm going to go ahead and add a category. And this is our book signing tour. And we're going to head over to, let's go to Galway. And all the way down at the itty bitty bottom of the category editor, I'm going to tell the platform that this category is actually a mini event all by itself. And when it's listed on the public calendar, if I'm going to use the website widget, which I'll show you in a second, I want you to call it the book signing tour for Galway. I'm going to list it as an event type. For example, I'm going to pop up here a Galway image. Let's just grab a little Galway image. The calendar description. The location is Galway, and then it's going to have its own unique date and time. So we'll pick August because it's pretty wet in Galway year round. August is a bit better options when it comes to weather. So let me grab dates and times. So I've added in a unique category. I've said the category is an event in and of itself. This is our roadshow built-in feature in the platform. Now, under event emails, when I go to my initial confirmation email, and if I go into the editor of my email, and remember all of your emails now, please fix this. You only need to edit them in HTML editor. You probably have it defaulted to HTML plus text. You don't need to send them with text anymore. Our own Outlook tells you, would you like to download the full HTML content of this email? Our own Outlooks are pushing emails into our inbox just in the text version. So just fix your emails here. It saves you a bit of work. Let's go into the edit button. Now, I have slightly different merge fields that I'm going to use here. So if you go into merge fields, and if you go to event details, look at this here now. You've been looking at this for a long time. You maybe haven't noticed. There's little brackets here. When the category has been set up as an event in and of its own right, use the category end date and time. Use the category end time. Use the category start time. Let me scroll down a little bit, and if I'm struggling trying to find all of the when category, I'll just maybe highlight these. I want the name of the category location. I want the date the category ends and the date the category starts. I'm going to use those merge fields in my email. So thank you for registering for Galway. See you in Galway on whatever date. So now I don't have to create a unique confirmation email for every single location, because remember, in your emails, of course, you could set up a different confirmation email for every location. So this saves me the work of doing that type of thing. So I'm going to click on Save and Stay there. So now as people register, I'm going to click on my registered list. I can see people are registering here for the different locations, the different events. So if I open up one of these registration records and I go to send that initial confirmation email, I always come in here just to check the email. You know, we can't wait to see you in Hogsmeade on that date. There's the location. So you have a few of those auto merge fields that you could use. Now, another couple of things that I like to use here, if I go back to registration settings, one of the pieces of our platform that I feel is underused, I'm going to ask you all to dig into this section here soon, is the Overview tab. And in the Overview tab, you have lots of different fields. You can add lots of content and custom fields in here. For example, the registration deadline. And I can put in some fields in here. Look, weather related information. I could add these little fields as merge fields in the email. Here's a little bit of information about the weather in Galway. Here is the registration deadline for this event. Or here's the discount code link that you could send to a friend to refer a friend. Any fields that you add to this event overview field are available to you in the email content. So let's go back to just this one little registration site in this little email. And what I would like to do in these emails is put in a wee dot of information about the weather or public transportation, refer a friend discount code. I'm going to go to merge fields, and under event details, if I scroll down, these are all of those fields that I've created on that overview tab. And I'm going to populate the weather information custom event question. So that little merge field is going to pull from that overview tab. And that's how I might have oodles and oodles of custom emails, know before you go. And I've got a I've updated something in the event and now I have to go through all my custom emails and update that. See if there's any generic information you could lean on the overview tab to populate. Now let's go and see where we added that information in the overview tab. I'm going to go to my wee hamburger menu. I'm going to come down to account settings. I'm going to open that in a new tab. I don't want to be flip-flopping around too much with all my tabs open. So here's my account settings tab. Now, if you're not seeing account settings, it may be because you do not have that permission to be an account administrator. So that would be something that you should talk to your Stova admin in your company about. But if I go to custom fields, I'm going to add that custom field. I have a lot on here. I've been using it for a while, but I'm going to go and add a custom field to that default tab. And this is going to be refer a friend discount code. And this is going to be refer. That's the merge field I want to show up when I'm popping it in that email. And it's just going to be a little text field. It could be a date field. It could be multiple lines of text. I'll pop that in there, click on save and exit. And now that information is available to smush through all of my emails inside my events. So I've added in that refer a friend. And now when I go to, let me just refresh my screen here. So it just grabs the account settings section again. So now when I pop into this email, edit the email, take a wee peek at my merge fields, and it's under event details. I'm just going to do a quick search for refer a friend custom event question. So I'm going to pop that little merge field into my email and encourage people to bring each other. So when I'm cloning my series of events, I'm going to allow myself to be able to bring that centralized content into that event where I've set up categories as events in and of themselves. Now, if I go to my wee hamburger and I come down, I'm going to create a website or a one-page website that's going to land on my list of roadshows. And in our website tool, one of the features that you can add in here is the calendar widget. So when I go to add content, I'm going to click and drag and drop that calendar widget onto my page. And here's the calendar widget that I added before. So Galway has shown up. And if I click on the Customize button, I'm going to tell what events I want to display here. I'd like to display categories that are marked as events in and of themselves. And you can see here that as a viewer of this website, you could select a state, you could select a date range. I'm giving you these filters here to allow you to whittle down my roadshow series and go ahead and register for the one that I want. So here's this website active and live right now. So let me just pop it into the Zoom link here. So go ahead and take a peek at that website there. Just have a look. I put that in your Zoom chat. Go ahead and register if you want. It's a super quick registration site, but that's the image I've uploaded for the different events and the dates and the times. And then somebody would click in there and start the registration process for that roadshow series. So I'm using the categories in and of themselves. I'm using my website widget here inside my one-page website. Now, you could create the widget out here all by itself, and then you could grab that widget and embed it onto your own website. So if you're doing all of your own website hosting yourselves, not using our website tool at all, you could certainly just take advantage of that calendar widget. This is my roadshow series for the book signing. And I'm going to tell this widget, I'm going to tell it how to look, change all of the layouts, how it looks. I'm going to tell it to select not every event that's listed, but any categories that are marked events of themselves. But I've got additional filters here because I may have multiple folders and I just wanted to find the events that are in my folder called Roadshow. So it's not pulling every single event across all of my folders. So maybe you've got a 2026 folder, 2027 folder. I can just make sure that I'm filtering by that folder, but I could also filter by other components. And if you look at the other components that you can filter by, you can filter by names of events, dates of events. You can actually force that on the filter. So that's under event selection. And then under available calendar filters, I'm going to allow my attendees to filter by the location. I'm also going to allow them to filter by a date range. I'm going to allow them to filter by the country. I'm going to allow them to filter by any of those questions that I had added at the event overview field. So if you wanted to add in one of those custom fields that said your job level or the office location for our company, you could add that as an event overview field and allow your people perusing this widget to find events filtered by that information on that event overview field. So you can see how that event overview field and those custom fields are permeating this website widget as well as the email content. So it actually does an awful lot of things in here. So maybe I'm going to filter by, I can't find it now, I've got to delete some of these because I don't use them anymore, but show me all of the ones that have a refer a friend discount, for example, or show me all of the ones that are good weather. So we won't be going to Galway in that sense. But maybe look at using those overview fields to apply that filter on there in your calendar widget for those events. So using categories in and of themselves, very quick way to manage road shows, but cloning an event where I've got the perfect template or that perfect setup for this event. This is many of you use this process where you create the ideal event and then you just clone it out for the 15 or the 20 locations. So absolutely perfect way of doing it. And what I would say to you is use as many merge fields as you can absolutely everywhere, even in the event description, in your contact information. when you clone an event, the very basic minimum that you are going to have to fill in is the basic details tab. You can't get away from that. You have to fill it in. But I would hope that every single email, that every single header and footer is built with merge fields entirely so that you do not have any other nook and crannies to have to dig into and check. So if I go to my headers and footers area, and you're going to pop on here, for example, a final registration record header, which would be something like, thanks for registering. We look forward to seeing you in merge field event details, and I'm going to search for city, the city in which the event is taking place. My merge field squishes up there in the top left. I'm going to paste it down here. The weather will probably be something like, and then I'll go to merge fields, grab that merge field and search for weather. So I've put in that merge field for weather. I'm going to build out as much as I can. The other area that you've got centrally located is HTML snippets. These are located at the account level side. And typically what I see these used for are social media links or copyright information. So you could add those snippets, and HTML snippets will go in registration sites, headers and footers, emails, headers and footers, website headers and footers. They permeate everywhere, but they're at the account level. So if I click on update and exit just to get out of this header and footer, remember our good internal notes. I've got a thank you here, I've a snippet, and I've got the weather info on my header and footer here. So I'm just going to write myself a little reminder note of what the heck I put in there. But I'm also going to make a note to say no static content. So that's a mental reminder that I don't need to come in here and edit it because it's only built with generic information and merge fields. Whereas if I did have a content area maybe on the print registration record page that needed updates, I would put a note in here to say needs updating after cloning. So I'm just going to mark to myself what content areas do need updating when I clone versus the ones that don't need updating when I clone. And when I come back to my workflow checklist, I'm going to go down to my look and feel and my headers and footers section, and I'm going to make sure that the actual headers and footers need to be updated. So the print page header needs updating. Hopefully you don't now need to update anything because that would drive me nuts. I'm 100% risk averse, as I think every planner is. So it would be nice not to have to come in and update these pieces. Let me just show you where those centralized locations are for HTML snippets. I'm going to go to my wee hamburger menu again. I'm going to come down to account settings. And the snippets are stored in a database section, and it's under HTML. Now, the nice thing about snippets is that if you update them here centrally, they push out globally. So I can also inactivate them. When I was adding in that snippet, I only saw 2 available snippets. So it's not showing me all of the old ancient historical snippets. So maybe I'm going to have a snippet that's the Stova copyright overall, and every December 31st, I'm going to update it with the New Year's content. It's going to completely update all of my sites. So the more I can take advantage of the centralizing of data content across my events, I will. So database, HTML snippets, and if you come to account details, we were really looking at custom fields and getting these guys ready to push into the actual event content areas. So let's head back to my event list. I think I've got so many tabs open here, which I'm sure that happens to you too. And then they all start blinking at you because you're closing up, going to sleep. So the cloning process, create the beautiful event site, templatized, clonable site, ready to rock and roll with as much generic content and merge fields as possible. And you're going to make sure that you clone that one and update it, at the very least, the basic details tab. Now, the issue here is if the affect of doing separate events versus using the categories is now I have to do a cross event report to get a total tally report of how many people registered for my series, because the series is now across multiple events. So you can attack that in two ways. You can go to your cross event reports and create a report, a table of reports, and create a view, for example, of all of the information you needed: number of people registered, number of declines, number of incompletes, number of no-shows, whatever you're doing for your event. And then you can just apply the filter here, where if you scroll down, you can filter by folder. So show me my roadshow folder and apply this filter. And then I can whittle it down by the year. So just show me the events between, uh, you know, 2025 and 2027, because this series is spanning a wee bit of time. So now you're whittling down this cross event report, creating the view you want, and then you can export this data. Your other option is to take advantage of the dashboards that you have available to you now. And if you do not see dashboards under your wee hamburger, please email training@stova.io or support@stova.io, and we'll just make sure it's visible on your profile. It's by default visible to all of the generic profiles that are available in Stova, but if you're logging into Stova with the unique profile, it may not be turned on in that new profile. So what I'm going to do here now is create a new dashboard. Oh, yeah, I need to just change my login. Hold on 1 second. I'm just going to create a new dashboard that shows me. I'm just switching my screen for a second. I'll not log in as somebody who can create a dashboard. And I'm going to create a dashboard that is going to show me reporting and data across a whole folder, or all of my events called roadshows, for example. So let's just go quickly into the dashboard library. I'm going to share my screen now, unpause it in a quick second. Okay, so I've just started the creation of a new dashboard, and I'm going to add in a new visual, and maybe we're going to have a look at my event list, or let me just grab all of my registrant data across multiple events, and I'd like to create a quick little table. Just show me the list of people who are registered, and in this table I want to see the event name, the names of the categories, because in some of those road shows I was using the category as an event in and of itself. So New York, Chicago, Galway. I'd like to see the names of the attendees and maybe the company from which they registered. So I'm going to start working on creating a table here. Now, this table is scanning absolutely every single event that I have, which is going to take a moment. So what I'm going to tell this table is to apply a filter in the settings. So if I pop over to filter, I'm going to say add a filter, and it's going to be let's do the event name, for example, and it's going to be show me all of my events that have something in their name, like a book signing or something like that. So I'm going to lock in that table either by folder or by event name or by the number. I was just doing a dashboard this morning, and we filtered by all the events called 2026, because I had a client that was deliberately calling their events 2026 for the year of 2026. So I can lock in this table to whittle down just to show me those events. So the dashboard will allow you to look across all of your events. Now I'm going to add in a new visual, and one of the visuals that I like to create is maybe just a pie chart. And that pie chart, I'm going to have it group by category. And this would be great now for the book series where I am using the categories that are events in and of themselves. So it's one registration site and each of the categories is a different location. So I'm going to lock this pie chart to tell it only look at that one event, the book signing tour, and group by the category name, because I would like to see those different categories that are registering. And I'm going to ask each of those pizza slices in the pie to just count the category ID. And I'm going to lock this little pie chart down into that one event. So these little dashboards are allowing me to bring up the data certainly in a pie format, but then display it a little bit differently in the pie. So in the settings here for this pie chart, I would add in that little filter that said, just show me that book signing tour. I think I called it, let me just, can't remember what I called the event. It was book signing. Let me just duplicate this tab because I'm having a brain lapse with the name of my events. So view all events. So this was my roadshow sample. Yeah. So roadshow sample. So I'm just going to tell this pie, don't be looking at all of my events, just be looking at the roadshow, and then I'll see the breakdown of those categories and I'll just apply that. So the dashboards kind of help me view if you're doing your series with loads of different events. I can look at these dashboards across multiple events. So now I'm seeing I've got Scotland here, New York, Hogsmeade, Downton Abbey's. Downton Abbey's the least popular now. It does sound the most boring maybe. But anyway, you see where I'm going with that, right? So if you approach it with one event, lots of sessions, or one event, categories is an event in and of itself. That's our built-in feature for roadshows. Or clone the event and have a different event per location, but be clever about the cloning and use as much centralized data as you can. So whichever approach you have, I can use dashboards to help me report a little bit better on that. And certainly inside the event where I'm using sessions or categories as the events, I can get all the reporting in there, but dashboards is allowing me to kind of scan across multiple events. But when you're cloning, I would love to know what takes you the longest, what stresses you out the most, and what is your most repeated task. And see in your workflow process if you can eliminate some of those repeated steps. And I mean actually clicking on every single click. Like, what is the clicking that you've had to do? Is it like to change your filter? Is it to change your views? Is there a way that you could speed things up? Because every time you clone an event, everything clones. So I really want the cloning process for repeated events to be as painless as possible. I personally don't mind a lot of clicks sometimes, but I would get very stressed if I made a mistake on things. And then other people might be the opposite, not the opposite, but other people, I know some of you might not mind doing repeated work and wouldn't find that stressful, but other people might. So I like to have the least amount of mouse mileage and zero stress going live with an event. So just something to think about there now. So I saw we've had a few answers, and I know Sean got a couple of questions there. But that's what I wanted to cover today for you. Let me know if you have any questions. So training@stova.io. We do make sure you are in the Stova LMS. Happy to pop you in there. If you're not in there already, let me know. And then we do have some nice, cool new features coming out this year. Updated registration templates. We've got a new email feature coming out that I'm incredibly excited about. So I may change up my topics the next couple of months just to put those in. And if there's something you'd like to see covered in these sessions, please just email training@stova.io and we'd be happy to do that for you. So have a fabulous rest of your week, and thanks a million for joining us.